remember what I did with it.
I have mine home. I thought, well, I don't know.
As long as we're out of here.
Well, I was gonna bring this.
Show on TV tonight. We better be.
I think.
Actually, we better
Did you
be
read
out
it?
of here at 9:30. That way I
think
can
I
make
was
this
close
close
to
and shoot a letter.
Yeah.
7:45. No later than 7:45. We're not gonna wait for the baseball board or anything. No, we're not. Okay, I'd like to call the Newman City Council regular meeting of March 28th to order, and if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, God, for bringing us here safely tonight. Please give us the guidance and the wisdom to make the right decisions for our community. In this we pray, amen. Amen. May we have a roll call, please?
Present. Present.
Present.
Present.
Present. Item number 5, these are communications from the staff. Is there anything tonight? Nothing. Okay. Item number 6, these are items from the public, non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Council. Is there any non-agenda items tonight? Seeing none, we will move to the items from the public. These are agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor. In order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor and the council grants a longer period of time. Are there any items from public on agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move to 7, public hearings. There are none tonight. Item 8. This is item 8A, approval of warrants. B, approval of minutes of the March 14th, 2000 regular meeting. C, approve outdoor sales event by Ace Hardware in the city parking lot. And that's it. Are there any that anyone would like to have?
Yeah, I'd like to pull B because I wasn't here to approve the minutes, so.
Okay. We have pulled item B. Can we have some direction on item A and C?
I move approval of items A and C of the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item B, this is approval of minutes of the March 14th, 2000 regular meeting. Can we have some direction on that?
Make a motion, we approve item B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0 with 1 non-participating. Thank you. Item 9A, this is a request from the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board, request letter of public convenience or necessity. Cleve?
Hopefully the council is familiar with this process, and I may ask Judy to help me out with this because our planning director handled this, but it's basically if there is a establishment, this is the new restaurant that is on Main Street that comes in and requests alcoholic beverages to be served. If they are closer in proximity to another and there are certain requirements that we are asked to provide a letter of necessity to ABC saying that we approve of having that in there. And that's basically what this is. It's not technically required to come from the council. However, in the past, this was another issue we wanted to bring up this and just confirm the council wants this continued. A past city council had requested that these come before the council when they go through, so we're still following that policy at this time. So the direction would be to authorize approval of the letter of necessity to be sent to ABC, and then allow, I would appreciate some direction if you want us to continue with the process of bringing these to city council. They don't come up that often. It's not a real big deal either way. So,
Are there any questions for Cleve?
This type of license, type 40, this is beer and wine, right?
yes, is that correct, Judy?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's my question.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Can we have some direction on this, and then we'll, how do we want to handle, do we do this first, and then we'll,
Sure.
how do
Yeah,
we,
go ahead
okay. Let's approve this one, and then we'll discuss briefly what the policy is. So if we could have some direction on this item.
I move- I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I so move that the city council approve and request letter of convenience or necessity.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Can we briefly discuss what we want to do regarding this policy on either bringing this back to the council, or do we want to have it processed in-house? Any feelings on that?
Yeah, I think as long as there's no, outstanding problems with the person requesting it, I think that staff could handle it.
Okay. Any other?
ABC does it, they check that out, don't they, when somebody applies?
Yeah, they
Right.
do some checks on it, and the application flows through our police department also for review, so, yeah, all that is reviewed in the process.
And there are some posting requirements too, aren't there? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
30 days.
Mhm.
So can we give direction then to allow staff the discretion to process this rather than have it come to us?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Cleve. Okay. Item 9B, this is to receive and file correspondence from Dr. Emmanuel Conga regarding handicap parking and direct staff to consider handicap parking as part of the downtown streetscape program. Cleve?
Thank you. You have my report here and the letter that came from Dr. King. I had discussed this briefly with him on the phone, and I told him if he wanted to request it to go to the council, to send me a letter. So you have his brief letter. And my recommendation in my letter is that to take a look at it, but to consider it as part of our downtown streetscape program. Currently, in the draft plans that we have drawn up, we are showing a few spaces for handicap parking. Basically, what we're showing, though, is on the corners. Now, there will still be some discussion as far as if it's all corners or just a few corners or others. Because of the issues that I've raised here, there's a lot more to consider rather than just putting a handicap placard up and a sign there to say it's handicap parking. It eliminates some parking spaces because they have to be larger. If you put them mid-block, you have to have ramps and et cetera available for them. So I would guess, and I haven't measured this out, but I would guess if we were to put 3 or 4 parking places in the area where Dr. King is requesting, we would probably look at losing maybe 6 or 7 parking spaces in order to accommodate that. So I'm not saying that we should definitely say no to this right now. I think that we need to review it, but look at it as part of the downtown streetscape program. And I'm open for any comments from the council if you have requests, if you'd like to consider this further. Obviously, the other option will be to look at possibly handicap parking that could be provided in the back off the alleys in some of these areas also. In this particular area, there is not room directly behind his building, but there is a lot next to his building that they could consider purchasing a portion or all of that lot and put it back there. Would probably be as convenient or more convenient actually than having handicap parking out on the street. So with that, that's my only recommendation at this time. And if there's any comments and questions the council has.
Is there any comments, questions?
I think that we probably could look at putting one space out in front of his office, one handicap space. He's asking for 3 or 4, which is kind of out of the question, take up the whole half of the block. But I think one out there in front, and then if he wants any more, I agree with Cleve, they should probably purchase part of that lot back there and move it in the back. It's closer anyway.
Well, I would concur that we do need handicap probably there, but I would think that we'd want to look at the whole city as because we don't want to give one advantage to one business over another, because I'm sure that...
No, it's just that as long as he has, that's his office,
Yeah,
it's the
I'm sure there's a
only
need.
doctor in town, he should have one there, but as far as the rest of them on the corners, that'll work out real well, I think.
I like Cleve's idea about looking at the streetscape plan and is the committee still formed? Can they still meet on, and
They-
take that into consideration? or-
Yeah, they've not officially been dismissed, and
Right.
and the reason for that is I plan, we're close to having the first set of draft plans ready to go, and I'd like to reconvene them to go over that and make sure that what we've drawn up now is in accordance with what the Streetscape Committee had designed. So that is a point where that can be considered also.
Yeah, because I like the corner idea. I like to see, a couple on each block. Having been there and done that, there's a lot of times that I could have appreciated of trying to find a place to park on the corner because I couldn't walk. I know what they're going through, and we need to do something.
Sure. Yeah, again, I agree. I think that part of this process or evaluation also should be to begin the process of looking at the alleyways and see if the alleyways back there might be more of an appropriate area to provide those. Because again, my concern is with putting handicap parking on the streets, even on the corners, there's a possibility, depending on the situation, you're going to have a person walking behind their car or possibly in a wheelchair or crutches or whatever, walking behind the car into the street to get to the corner, which may, I'm not certain that perhaps there may be a safety issue involved with having that handicap parking out on the street. And I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying that that's something I think that we need to take a good hard look at and see if that is an appropriate place for them, or if they perhaps could we provide a sufficient number of handicap parking spaces off-street in small mini parking lots back in the alleyway.
You have the parking lot across the street from the theater.
Right.
You could take the first two all the way across and make those handicap,
Mm-hmm.
which would be,
Yeah. And that's a good idea. That's something that could be easily provided in that block. And I believe there is one handicap stall in the parking lot in the south block, down by
The new
Yeah.
parking lot.
yeah, the new parking lot.
by the
There is
barber
one
shop.
there. But unfortunately, we don't have a parking lot yet in the north block, and therefore there are no handicap parking spaces provided except for
We have the one
in
across the
Pioneer.
street.
Right, the temporary one.
Yeah.
Yes.
We
Mhm.
could put a spot in there.
Sure. Well, I think it's a good idea, and certainly we want to look at all of the downtown. Since we're going to do this downtown project, we might as well take a look at what's in the best interest of the entire downtown with regards to these spaces. But
Would it help to talk to people that are handicapped to see where the problems they have as far as where might can be convenient for them, where we could possibly work with them? I mean, for us to try to pick and choose where the best locations are, maybe they may have some better ideas.
Sure. Yeah, I look at things such as, well, there's the doctor's office, the drugstore, there's also the post office, the grocery stores. All of those are areas that, barber shops,
Yeah.
other hair places, all of those provide service that
Yeah.
I'm assuming that everyone needs at one
Yeah.
time or another. So,
And we have to come up with some sort of a plan that will take into account that those businesses are going to change over the years, so we
Yeah.
don't want to be constantly restriping the downtown to fit the business.
sure.
So if we can locate them strategically so they can help everyone on both sides of the street, I think that's the way we want to go.
okay. Any other comments on this one? So you pretty much have direction that you'll follow up on this.
Is the direction then to
Well-
go with the streetscape plan and look at it at that point
And
then?
include
Is
Yes.
that
a plan
Yeah.
for
what you
handicap
want to
parking.
do? Okay.
and maybe
And-
involve the committee.
Yeah, and those, we will, yeah, that's an item that we will bring up with the committee when we go through that process. Just to let you know, those plans, of course, will come back to you for final approval before we go out to bid also. So, and I'll let you know when those committee meetings are, if you want to come and sit in and comment on some of those. Of course, we'll have to be careful that we do that. Well, we'll see, if you desire, if we get to that point, we could possibly schedule a special meeting, some kind of workshop to go over those plans, if that's the way you want to do it.
I think that might be a good
Okay.
idea.
Am I still on the committee?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we
yeah.
still have our two representatives on, or Dave, or who was it? Dave,
Yeah,
worked
No, I
on
was from the
it.
planning,
Dave.
I was from the
Dave.
planning commission.
Oh,
Were you the only
okay.
council member that was
At
on
the
it?
time, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Okay.
Tom was on it from
The
the
planning
planning
commission.
commission. Dave was on it from the city council.
Okay.
So, but that would work all right. They can still.
We could add two, we could add another person from the city council, but we'll keep Dave on there, and then if we could, since Tom has already been on there, and rather than try and reinvent the, you know.
Yeah, I would
re-go
say
through
just
with
keep it
somebody.
the same,
Okay.
same as it is.
Okay.
I don't see a big problem
Okay,
at this point to make any changes. So.
okay,
Okay.
all right. Yeah, okay. Okay, item 9C, we had considered information from Kristen Lopez regarding the Newman Youth Baseball Program. She's not here tonight, so I would ask if there are any, I noticed several people from the baseball board here, if there are anything that, you know, you'd like to give us an update on the program, or we can move forward if you'd like, however you'd feel most comfortable.
Well, I can just mention for a minute, you have this, the information. I have some additional information. If you have questions, I can bring up additional things that have been provided throughout this process. And you have my letter that I responded to Ms. Lopez on this issue. Again, there are some accusations and et cetera that are made in the letter. It is my position, as I stated in the letter, that there's probably some disagreements, some people that possibly haven't got along from time to time, but I, in my investigation, saw no evidence of any type of discrimination or anything, you know, along those lines. So.
I think, just to say on your letter, I think Cleve was very thorough on it as far as looking into what was going on and everything else, and I'm very satisfied that, you know, what Cleve found was in fact what has happened, so, but. Yeah.
I'm Dave Hettinger, live at 1571 Merced Street, Mr. Mayor, Council. President of the baseball board, and things are progressing pretty nicely. We had a couple things get in the way, but you know we've moved around things, and things are flowing fairly well. We have numbers are up in most of our divisions this year, and we're kind of excited about that. We have 8 T-ball teams, and that's you know, things are just, they're blowing up. We never had that many kids on T-ball, and we have a lot of Babe Ruth signups. The only thing we're really down with this year is minor boys and major girls. Other than that, most of our numbers are staying pretty consistent. We started signups early, and we've gone late, and we're still getting some calls. In fact, we're still getting calls on T-ball, but we're pretty maxed out with that. We're planning on opening April 14th. It'll be there'll be a parade through town and a little ceremony at the field, and then opening day on the 15th. And there'll be a game on that Friday night, the 14th, and then there'll be games all day on Saturday. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else.
Are there any?
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We have done a lot of field maintenance this year. Several of the individuals on the board and myself have been working tirelessly trying to get everything ready. We revamped Materi Field. It's starting to look pretty good. And we've worked on Barrington, so we're in the process of trying to get things spruced up. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Any questions for Dave?
Yeah, I have a question, Dave.
Yes.
Are you making any progress at all as towards becoming self-sufficient as a non-tax or nonprofit organization where you can operate on your own rather than being under the auspice of the city?
We have been, I guess that's something that the board has strived for several years, but it's something that I don't think it'll happen this year, maybe not next, but I think we're getting there. I think the big thing is numbers as far as volunteers for the board is a big situation for us, you know, trying to get repeat people to come back, you know, and trying to keep the program in a steady flow as far as people in the know with an exchange. And sometimes people will get on the board for a year, maybe 2 years, and then they'll drop out of sight because their kids are gone or what have you. And I think that's part of the problem, and we've talked about that. And we have a draft that had been drafted several years ago, and we're in the process of going back through these bylaws and trying to bring that up to something that we think is presentable as far as we feel as a board that, you know, we can use to benefit an organization independently. But I think that we're still a little ways away from that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dave? I just had one question, actually. I know in our budget this last year, we had some funds available for some of the improvements out there. Did we ever get a chance to get that, take care of that fencing, everything?
Yes,
Okay.
the fencing had been done, and the snack shack at Metairie had been redone just recently.
Yeah. Now, the fencing on the sides there, where there was those little things, but how about on the top as well? Remember, we were supposed to replace that?
We haven't done that. We're still taking a look at it, and we can do that. That's simple process. We were trying to decide
Yeah, I
on the
would-
funding which
Yeah.
was the priority.
The
and
top
what
part
we're
there,
doing.
I would definitely recommend
The
that
chicken wire on
yeah,
top.
that I would definitely recommend that we do that
Okay.
top part of the fencing there. But the rest of it, where there was the little gaps, are all
Yeah,
that's
that's,
been done.
that's all been taken care of, and I believe the city will take care of what happened is they did from the backstop to the dugout, and because the size difference in the dugout was different from what they had bought for the backstop itself to the dugout, so I believe they ordered new stuff, and that'll be put on, which will make it much nicer right there, or
Yeah.
trying to restretch that.
Yeah, actually for the dugouts, we thought after we looked at it, there's a couple of things that we can do that's still going to be good enough to work with. We'll stretch it, refasten it. On one side where it's really kind of flexing in, we're going to put an extra bar across there, a center bar that will help correct that, and I think it'll look good. So.
Yeah, most of the things have transpired. The big thing that we were really hoping for was the bathrooms, and I know that won't happen this year, but from the youth center. But so apparently there's still enough allocated in our budget that we can go ahead and rent portables for the season, and that's what we'll do, because really the 2 bathrooms that are connected to the pool are not suitable for anything. I mean, as far as maintenance concern and a safety concern, lighting and such. So there's no intention of using those.
And
this
one
year.
of the things, as far as those bathrooms, that we're still attempting to finalize everything.
We're still going to do it. It's just getting all the pieces together to make that one work.
So that's something that we're still, we haven't dropped that as a project.
Definitely.
We're still finalizing everything that we need to do on
We
that.
we were pretty excited about. We had some other visionary type things as far as trying to fence off the first base side and up to the youth center and over, and that would be easier to control entrance in and out for tournaments
Right.
and such, and also children running across the street trying to chase foul balls and such. And we still have plans maybe down the road maybe to try and put grass in there. So along with some shade covering, I think that's important. Those are things that we as a board will probably undertake if we have a little extra time. We'd like to take care of Barrington, and we'd also like to take care of the one side on the first base side of Metairie. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Dave. And I want to say to the rest of the board, I think you guys have done a great job out there. It looks really nice. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Item 9, I'm sorry.
Is this matter closed with Kristen Lopez, or can she come back now to the city council?
No, it will be closed with this unless the council directs any further action tonight.
Right.
And from what I'm hearing, there's no further action.
I think it should be left up to the baseball board. That's-
Okay.
No, I agree with
Yes,
your
it's-
letter. I
It's
thought
done as far as we're concerned from here, so. Okay.
Okay.
Item 9D, this is to recommend that the city council reject the one storm drain proposal received and to re-advertise for new proposals. Cleve?
Just quickly on the storm drain master plan that we would let out proposals for, we did only receive one proposal. We felt that we should try to get more than that to compare with, so we're requesting the council reject that proposal and allow us to go out and advertise again. We have talked to a couple of engineering firms since that time, and that we think that we will be able to get more than one proposal. So we'd like council to authorize us to
Do we wanna
reissue
do-
those proposals.
Do we want to do a 30-day bid proposal, or how long do we want to do this?
We will probably do approximately 30 days, 3 weeks to 30 days anyway. We haven't set that date exactly, and I'll work with the city engineer on that, but we would like to move from there and keep this project moving. We need to keep it going. So.
Right. Okay. Is there any questions on that or comments? Okay. Can we have some direction then, please?
I recommend the council reject the one storm drain proposal received and re-advertise for new proposals.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item 10, these are items from the city manager.
I just wanted to state quickly, just so everybody knows where we're at. There's been a lot of questions about how the streetscape project is coming and where we're going with that. I talked to the mayor quite a bit about it today, and I just wanted, so that everybody knows, clarification. Our process right now, the timeline that we're on, is to be ready to go to bid around the first part of June. Okay, assuming approximately at least a 30-day bid process, awarding the bids in July, and then proceeding with construction immediately following that. We're not right sure yet. We're still working through the plans, but I'm assuming it's going to be 3 to 4 months. Yeah, that's my concern too. Yeah, that we get it in before the rainy season, and it looks like, you know, we're still online to be able to do that. So.
And we'll beat the holiday season pretty much too.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, I understand. With that, I don't believe I have anything else tonight.
Thank you, Cleve. Councilmember Martina?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Councilmember Applegate?
Just like to report, I brought up once before that we have a GSE Rotary team coming from India, and we will be picking them up Sunday in the Sheraton Hotel, North Lake Tahoe, and bringing them back, and they'll be staying in individual houses. But on Tuesday from 9 to 10:30, we have a meeting set up at City Hall to meet with Cleve and Margaret and Ernie, and then proceed on over to the fire station, and then on to the police station, and then here in the council chambers. So if any of you can make it, it'd be appreciated, so we can answer the questions on how our politics works and how we run a small city. That's all I have.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Tom. Councilmember Radford?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Councilmember Reed?
Nothing real. I just wanted to commend our anonymous concerned citizen for coming forward and signing his thing so that we can get back with him hopefully on some of these things. The only one that really concerned me was his firing line statement, which I still disagree with. And even though we disagree on things, it's good to have these letters come forward and we can get into these things. So everybody has their own opinions, and like the old lady said, since just a cow, everybody their own taste. So thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple things tonight. First of all, before I go into the other ones, I would like to again publicly thank PG&E and Hearthstone Builders 2 weeks ago, and we had seen it in the newspaper. Between the two, the Theater Foundation had received $23,000 to go towards the neon lighting to refix that there, and the ceremony's on what, July 20?
July 29th, yeah.
Okay, July 29th. We will have our grand rededication ceremony of the theater with the neon lighting and everything.
And it
else.
is moving forward. Anyone that would like to come down and do some sanding and things are perfectly welcome to do it.
I noticed that Dave was out there, what was that, about 7 o'clock or 6:30 in the morning? You guys were out there?
Yeah, Saturday and
Yeah, I was
Sunday
out on my
before.
walk,
There
and
were 4 of us.
there they were, already
nice.
up at it.
That's fun. The other two items I had, first one was, I know Cleve and I had a long talk today about this thing here. We've been talking about this for years regarding this skate park. And One of the areas that I'd talked to Cleve and Councilmember Reed and I had talked about it here a little bit was that area over there where the Materi field is, that little grass area in there. Maybe taking a look at that area in there. I know we've got one of the areas David talked about was the area between the memorial building and the swimming pool. But I think maybe if we could possibly move that the playground equipment to that in between those two buildings, there would still be plenty of visibility from the ball fields in that area out there. But maybe if we looked at it, and the reason I know we had talked about different places out on the east side of town and some of these other places. The problem is with regards to supervision. The nice thing about this piece over here is that one, the city doesn't have to go out and acquire property. Two, it's right next to the junior high and the high school in regards to supervision. Where obviously if they were out, there instead of being in school, it would be a lot easier to and right after they get out of school, one of the things that we have heard, for years is, where do the kids go after they get out of school? And I'm not saying we use the entire piece of property. I think that might be a starting point as far as looking at how we could possibly carve that up, just to look.
Why don't we go out and look at it with a couple of members of the Recreation Commission maybe, and figure exactly what we need, how much
Right.
room and all that.
Yeah, because I know in the past, we've had people that have been willing to donate the concrete. We've had people, in fact, there's a gentleman in town who has talked to Cleve who is very interested in this, who's willing to even build these ramps and everything else. So it seems like we've got people in town who are willing to pony up on this type of stuff. But it just seems like we've been talking about this forever, and at least maybe we could just look at it, at that piece. But are there any questions or comments?
Charles, what's presently is that area being used for?
It's a big grass area. Sometimes there are people out there. There's a little barbecuer on the side next to where the youth center is. There's some playground equipment on the other side, but it just varies. I mean, people go out there and sit out there during.
I'm just thinking in terms of utilization of the land.
Mhm.
Are we going to take something away from people that they're presently using and put something in its place? I don't know. I don't know how many people.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying we don't necessarily need to. We don't need to necessarily do the entire piece because it's actually a pretty sizable piece now.
There are a lot of group picnics over in that area right by the youth center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's why I was thinking over on the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, I
there's
like
really
kind of like
nothing
the other
over there.
side too, in between.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
well, but we could look at that entire piece. So it's a
There's
big
nothing
piece.
there right now. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big piece, but we could look at at both pieces of property because the way, depending on how you configure it, and the nice thing about it, when I was out there this evening, there was a couple kids that were out there, a couple rollerbladers and everything and skateboarding out there, and I talked to them and I asked just to ask them some questions and get their opinions and everything else, and they themselves said we don't necessarily need a big piece of property. We just something small. As we all know, driving down Kern over here, the new unofficial skateboard park is Splash and Dash, and you see the kids out there rollerblading and skateboarding and everything else, and so they emphasize that they don't necessarily need a big piece of property, but we could at least initially see how feasible that piece of property would be, because I'm the first one to say I don't want to have the city go out and buy pieces of property and expend all kinds of money, but if we could do something that's relatively inexpensive, we should at least take a look at it. But so if there are no objections to that, can we direct Cleve to bring something back at least? In a
What I'd
preliminary
recommend is I'll take a look at it and review it and take it through the Parks and Recreation Commission if that's all right, and
Right.
then bring it back with their recommendation.
stage? Okay, great. And the other thing I had was is actually pretty timely. Cleve had talked about this downtown streetscape project. And one of the things I'd like to see I'd like to propose to the council to bring back some ideas as far as how we could do this is, when we go through the downtown and we rip these sidewalks out, and we've had in the past people try to plant flowers downtown, and unfortunately there are no irrigation lines now, and it gets to be a problem. But I would like to see us bring back a proposal. We could work with the West Side Index, put something in the paper as far as, people participating in town, and help the city of Newman designate an official city flower for the city of Newman. And when we get to the downtown, when we start building the downtown and rebuilding the downtown, in the areas where there's flowers to plant, where the trees are, now we'll have irrigation there, we could have some consistency downtown. So when people go downtown, there's the actual, there aren't these different colors. It's uniform, and it would look really nice. And I think it would give people an opportunity here in town to help.
The streetscape committee had brought up changing the flowers about 4 times a year anyway, so they would be all the same basic types at one time a year.
Okay. Well, if we could, and I know there's the different seasons for the flowers, but if we could just at least have something where we could get people to participate in town, and maybe bring something back like that. I'm glad that unfortunately I'm not on that committee, so I don't know all the details, but I just think something like that would get people participating in the process, and I think it would allow them to give some suggestions as far as how the downtown's gonna look fabulous when it's done. And I think something like that would just add to it. Unfortunately, when people do the planting and everything else, unfortunately the plants die, and the lack of. I know, right? I know. I just think that something like that, where at least you could have some consistency, would make the downtown look even nicer. But so, are there any objections to at least looking at that?
Sure. Might want to get the Downtown Merchants Association
Right,
involved.
right.
Mhm.
Just at least this is just something to at least put the ball in their court, and just if they want to. I mean, ultimately they're the businesses downtown. If they want to have something like this, then that's fine. If not, then so be it. But anyway, so if we could just at least preliminary, in the preliminary stage, at least throw that out as an option.
Well, we're going to need someone who is familiar with different plants and what will grow and what won't.
Right.
I mean, I have trouble with plastic plants, so
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll have a consistent plan for downtown trees.
my American
So
style.
we'll need to coordinate that.
Okay. Well, if we could just,
Redwoods.
if we could just throw that out as an option, and maybe bring it back at some point when we get the ball rolling on things. Anyway, other than that, I don't have anything else. If there are no other questions or comments, I'd like to move for adjournment.
Second, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Meeting adjourned.